Okay, Giacomo, welcome to the podcast, man. Look, it's such a pleasure to have you on. I think that your story is absolutely inspiring, and I want to share this with people. So, for those who don't know, you joined my coaching program back on the 1st of March, if I'm not mistaken,
The
and
official date was the 2nd of March.
2nd of March. There we go. That was
Wow.
actually the fourth anniversary of the podcast. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, man. And look, I think that this is a story that will absolutely inspire a lot of people in
Right.
themselves, whether it's with fitness, or whether it's just going through life in general.
Mhm.
So I just kind of want to get started from there, and also just to kind of before we get into it, I also want to mention that obviously you have successfully lost 18 kilos since joining me in that time, had a complete change of lifestyle and everything.
Yeah.
And you also personally, obviously, this is not a part of the plan, but you personally also chose to be sober, which is kind of something I want to tap into a little bit later as well. And then just
Absolutely.
kind of see how you've been finding that. So let's just start from scratch, man. If you were to kind of go back to yourself, like let's say on the 2nd of March, like how would you say things have like changed and shifted for you, or like what would you go back and say to your old self at that time when you were first jumping on?
First and foremost, thanks for having me. Now, before the 2nd of March, I would say that everything started when something big happened in my personal life. That was when the placement of my adopted daughter happened. That was the 4th of November, 2025. That was the day where I basically choose, well, I need to have a change, if I have to be some sort of role model and say to somebody, eat good, act good, be polite, take care of yourself. Well, I have to embody that, right? And so with the brand new year, I just okay, let's let's do that. Let's have that kind of change. So I started to look around, about who can potentially help me to change my life, my issue with food in particular. And I just landed on your profile. Um, I know for a fact that you are, I know you by the frontman of Tribex, but I didn't know you by the metal coach, which
Right, I see. Okay.
because I discovered that on your page. And I saw your background, I saw the condition that you were, and then the condition when you are now. Uh, and I say, okay, this guy can really help me. It's not just talking to somebody out there on the internet. He experienced what I'm experiencing.
Yep.
And I, no guts, no glory. I just send you um, the general request to have a chat with you. And then since then, my life completely changed. If I have to look back at it, I was scared because I had to, again, I had to, potentially speaking for my, another time in my life, I had to put myself out of my comfort zone, right?
Hmm.
And this time I had to do it for real, in a sense that I had to say goodbye, in a sense, to all the old habits,
Hmm.
and I wanted to very badly fixing issues with food. I was experiencing issues with food, and thanks to you, I did it. If I look back at it,
You did, man.
I felt like that committing to something that I didn't know where I was going. But day after day, it made sense. And this is something that whoever is listening to this and to my personal story, please trust into this process. and be able to commit yourself to this 3 months, 6 months, whatever.
Mm.
Be able to commit yourself, because in the end, what happened with me was just like, as I was getting results, losing weight, getting more muscles, and everything, you know, I didn't, I didn't, in a sense, I didn't, I didn't had to go on the internet for those motivational videos and things like that. I become my own motivation.
Mm.
And this is what people need to start to understand. The
Yes,
more you get in results, the more you will become your own motivation. And that's
absolutely,
pretty
man.
much it.
Absolutely, man. Spot on. And yeah, as you said it, once you start to see the results, once you actually commit yourself to the process and you trust the plan that we're working together, and then you follow that structure, the more you see the change in yourself, the more you see the change, whether it's on the scale or in the mirror, or the biggest change, which is the internal one, you start to actually feel more confident in it, and then you only can progress further. And now, just for everyone who's watching this, I really want to quickly actually show your before and after here, man, if you don't mind. I
Please
mean,
go ahead. I mean, he's on Instagram, he's
yeah,
everywhere. He's on your profile, he's on my profile, he's fine.
I mean, let's just take a look at this over
Yeah.
here, man. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. I mean, you look at what you've been able to achieve in this time frame, and I mean, you look at the definition. I always said that, when people looked at my own before and after, I always said that, you look at the before and after picture and you see the physical change and the physical transformation, but what you don't really see is the fact that it's the internal change that happens as a result of this, and now I think that one thing that is really important to kind of put out there for people, like, to me, I always say that the physical transformation is literally 5% that you can kind of substantially measure. How would you say that that the changes now, let's say you've dropped 18 kilos, which is fantastic, man, and can I also ask as well, do you mind just clarifying for everyone how old you are at the moment?
41.
41.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So I think you jumped on just before you turned 21, right? It was your, do I remember that correctly?
No, no, I was already 41.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you've dropped the 18 kilos, man. But let's talk about the mindset a little bit. I just kind of want to talk about that, and then we'll maybe talk about some of the challenges, some things that you found difficult, what things worked really well for you, so hopefully you can share that with people,
Absolutely.
whether they want to sign up to the plan or they want to follow their own journey, it's fine. I think it's good to
Sure.
kind of put this out there so people can take those like little bits of inspiration, and apply it to their
Mhm.
own lives. So, what would you say was like some of the biggest mind change, or like the changes in mindset that you kind of began to experience? Because you had already made a decision that because of
Mhm.
your stepdaughter, you had to make these improvements in your own life.
Yes.
Um, what would you say? Like, okay, let's start from there. Like, what was even the catalyst? What was it that you felt like you had to change? Like, why? Do you want to just tap into that a bit more for me?
First and foremost, I want to say that, and I said this, I had uh, an issues with food. I felt like eating for me, it was try to fill an empty hole. Something was happening. Something, it was just I had to, it could have be food or maybe one more beer or things like that. Alcohol at a certain point, as far as still, you know, I appreciate the, you know, uh, some craft beers and things like that. Alcohol at a certain point, it become to be not fun anymore.
Mm,
There was no this kind of, yeah, let's have a beer, let's have fun. No, it was something different, you know. And by any means, I'm saying that I was chugging liters and liters of beers. Please, please, no, do not, don't think about that. But there was that kind of funny part, that there was that anymore. There was that no more.
So when you say it wasn't fun anymore, so like, you were just
It felt
drinking
like I
as
have to
a
do it rather than I want to do it,
right, I see. Okay, that
if
makes
you know what I
sense.
mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I experienced the same thing myself, by the way. But please
Yeah,
carry on.
absolutely. Now, and I want to be extremely clear with those who are listening to this. It's not that I'm not gonna go back to have a glass of wine or whatever, a glass of beer.
Mm.
But what I experience, and this is something that we're gonna start to tap into the changing, is the how you perceive things, how you perceive your own life. Starting with food, starting of course with the fuel, with your body. When you, of course, start to clear your body, automatically you start to and it sounds silly to say, but your mind, you start to clear your mind as well. And saying that is, that goes hand in hand with feeling better, doing better, uh, and every aspect of your life, work, personal life. You're still gonna have those bumps on the road, by any means, of course. That's life. Life is not is not an easy shot. But what I literally experience is that I have more determination, I have more cold mind to understand things, I have a better vision, and I felt less depressed, I felt less anxious, I felt like I can do it, that I can do better, you know. Um what else? Well, that's pretty much it. That's the first thing that I do really experience, you know, with
Mm.
in the very first earliest, again, the the, the, the transformation, and not just the just not just the mental transformation, the mental and physical transformation that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
You lose weight, go to the gym, oh, you know, you start to put muscle on, you start to change body, your body changes, and automatically you are not looking anymore to the same person.
Mm.
And that is because it's the mental commitment that you're doing, you know. And this one thing I wanted to say before, um, I just hopefully this makes what makes any sense. And this is a quote from a song. It says that people don't see the mountain I've climbed, you know, and after the transformations, you know, you need to understand that those in those 3 months, people or people like me or your other clients, they go through a phase that is a game changing, is a life changing thing. And that's pretty much it, Shayan. There's nothing else I can say.
No, I totally appreciate that, man. And look, if I want to give my own 2 cents on that, obviously having watched you go through this transformation, and put in the effort and the increased confidence, but also the structure and the discipline and the accountability, all of those things that very much come with this. What I kind of went through myself when I was extremely overweight, and I was trying to lose and, basically make that change. I kind of understood that, okay, this has to come from a different mindset completely. And one of the interesting things with that, if I can give my own take on it, I think one of the reasons why the two are so intertwined is that, so normally, life is not going to be without its challenges. No matter who you are, life is going to give you shit. And it
Absolutely.
absolutely does not discriminate when it comes to that. So, and I guess the people who don't get the shit, I feel sorry for them because I know that it's going to be a lot harder for them to tolerate and go through things if they've never really had to put up with adversity. Now, I'm willing to bet that the person listening to this right now knows exactly the adversity that I'm talking about because they've been through it themselves. Maybe they are currently going through it. But what happens is that by adding this discipline and by adding structure to your life, instead of sitting around and thinking about things and trying to emotionally process things at a stagnant level, you start to move, and there is this emotional channeling rather
Yes,
that happens,
truly.
especially when you're lifting iron. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you have to like go super heavy or like you have to hurt yourself,
Mm.
no, but just from that little bit of I want to call it drip feeding. All right, because especially
Absolutely.
once you see how the plan actually works, it's not this extreme thing. It's not an extreme diet. It's not extreme exercises. It's just
No.
drip feeding that discipline into your day-to-day life. But that somehow seems to just make it so much easier to be able to tolerate the things in life, not because those things get easier, but because you become more capable as a result of it. What do you think about that?
And it gets easier day after day. And that's the
Mm.
most important thing. It can be a challenge maybe at the beginning, but if you're willing to change your life, there's nothing a challenge. I didn't really saw the journey as a challenge. It was something that I wanted to be part of it. And when you want to be part of something, well, there are no challenges. It's just, okay, let's do it. That's it. Whatever it takes, whatever it costs. It's just going to the gym. Instead of cracking up a beer, maybe you want to have a soft drink. You just want to spend more time outside. And you want to be more precise because you know that you need to deliver results. Not just
Mm.
to yourself, but to you as well, because of course people have to understand that every week I have to send you my weekly report. Okay,
Yeah,
why did I add? What did I do? How did the gym go? And things like that. And you can't fake that. You cannot fake that.
exactly.
No,
And if you do, you're only letting yourself down anyway.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And in the end, you just the commitment and the discipline is something that is gonna really reevaluate every single thing in your life that by and and that it can be translated as well as in every aspect of your life. It could be your private life, it could be your work. You just translate that, and vice versa. By I can I remember one of my weekly check. I remember I told you, oh, sometimes I'm bringing that kind of um, I'm trying to bring in that mentality from my work into this to be even more precise, more punctual, and things like that. And it is what it is. It made it even better in a sense,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
Absolutely, man. In what ways, like now that you're here, looking back at the last 4 months or so, that we've obviously worked together, achieved this transformation. What would you say are your three biggest wins out of being on the plan?
First and foremost, I would say that thanks to your plan, I do not suffer anymore of that kind of food craving things.
Because you're actually eating more. This is something that I think before you get
Yes,
to the other 2 points, so many people who actually want to lose weight have made the mistake of not eating enough for so long that their metabolism's completely slowed down, and
that's
they find themselves in a situation of binge eating basically
yes,
whenever they actually do, and then
yes.
a little bit of the weight comes down and then it comes back up again, the body becomes resistance. I have so many cases of this, of clients who first sign up with me, yourself included, where once I put the plan together for you, you're like, actually, I've never eaten this much food, and it takes a few weeks to build that up, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I still remember that maybe the first period I was still trying to adjust myself to the plan, and maybe I wasn't taking the calories that you, of course, were suggesting. That helped me as well, as I have to say, maybe to lose a little bit weight, a little bit quicker compared to, um, you know, to a normal to another customer of yours. Um, so yeah, the first bullet point is there's no longer food issues.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I
the
want
speed
to
of it
eat.
as well. Sorry to interrupt your flow, but like even the speed of it, like what you lost, given what we were doing in that time, it was a pretty standard number to go for. It's just that before we had to go into it, we had to commit to the habits first. Okay.
Absolutely.
But
But again, I
once you
was
kind of locked in, everything was just like, was perfect. You weren't like questioning like, oh, why should I do this? Or do I need to do that? You were kind of like, let's just follow this and then see what happens. And here we are
yeah,
four
that's
months
it,
later.
easy.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, goodbye. Maybe that means that's not for you. And then you can go somewhere else, or you can stay in. There's nothing wrong into that,
Mm.
There's nothing wrong into say this is not for me. But that's not my case. I just blindly fall. Okay, I have to eat the chicken, broccoli, and rice. Maybe put a couple of spice on the top to not make it boring. But and by any means, I do like chicken, broccoli, and rice now, even
Yeah.
if it's
I
plain.
always say make it exciting. I always say season it, make it exciting. Don't make it
Even
bland.
without even
Yeah.
without the spice, I think I felt like that. Okay, if I have to do it, I have to eat it. I have to eat it. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Mhm.
And you know that was fixing me.
Yeah.
That was fixing me. That was fixing the fact that now with my food, I do have a discipline. I didn't have the discipline before, in a
Mm.
sense. I was just eating whatever, Again, it was, I don't know what happened, but I presume that, and that's the mental side of it. And that's the second bullet point. Mentally, you're gonna be on your next level. And I'm not gonna stop repeating. I just say this multiple times in those 10, 15 minutes, but I want to continue and keep saying this. Mentally, you're gonna be better. Mentally, you're gonna start to act different, walk different. You're gonna have a sense of, you're gonna be proud of yourself, and that's gonna be reflected on even how you walk. You go into the street, chin up, and you're happy about yourself.
Confidence.
Basically, confidence. You get confidence, and that was something that I was even more confident to my job. Right.
Yeah.
Again, it's just not a one way
The
thing.
thing with confidence is, and I've touched on this before, but
Yes.
it's not something that you can manufacture. You can't just listen to like an audiobook or watch an Instagram reel and say, oh, I am going to be confident. That's not how it works. Your subconscious observes your day-to-day actions and it evaluates you based on that. And your confidence comes from you consistently showing up for yourself. So the more you build that real, natural, long-lasting confidence from recurring victories, and it can be the small wins. It can be the small wins of, oh, I hit all my calorie targets today, or oh, I had a really good week. I hit all the gym sessions. I managed to do most of the steps. It can be the simple little things. But what happens
Yes.
with that over time, the way you view yourself is that I'm someone who can show up for themselves. I can handle this. And as a result of that confidence, what happens is the beautiful trade off is that your anxiety levels go down because you don't feel like you're at the mercy of the world. You feel like you actually now have agency and control of your own life.
Here we go. That was basically my third bullet point. Mood. Your mood completely changed. I felt like that. Um, I I broke one of my toe. Was it 1 month ago, two
Yeah,
months
it
ago?
was.
And I always say that if it wasn't for this situation, for the sobriety, for the challenge, the dieting that was, and the mood that I'm in, I would have reacted in a completely different way. You
Mm.
know, I could have been the most depressing person. And it's just a small fracture, right? But instead, I had a laugh about it because I was thinking about how did it happen? It was just a pure comedy situation, right? It wasn't fun in that moment, but I just reacted in a better way. And this is another thing. Your mood, your actual mood towards life in general changes completely. It changes completely. You're gonna feel to be just out, let's do it. You're gonna
Yeah.
be more positive, accepting things that are gonna be thrown at you. And actually sometimes you will look for something to be thrown at you because you want to put yourself in a position to be okay. I want to challenge myself. I just want to go
Mm.
there. I just want to. And again, they're not gonna. In a sense, we call it challenges, but they're not challenges because you want to be there.
One
And
thing
this,
for me that's extremely important, and to begin with, perhaps like some years ago for me, this was quite a bitter pill to swallow. Um, but you understand that what it really means to be a man, especially when you have people relying on you, even if it's just yourself relying on yourself and you're going through life solo for the meantime, there's this aspect of you realize over time that there's no virtue about being someone who can easily get upset and easily start flailing their arms and start getting into like a rage fit, or like, oh yeah, just being angry at everything all the time. And like, one thing is how you feel internally, but how you manage that by the time it comes out is a big part of it. So what
you
you're
can
really
control
saying.
your sorry, you can control your emotions. You can
Exactly.
be mad and angry at this word, and trust me, there are multiple things that we should be angry and mad for this word.
Hmm.
But you know that you can channel that anger in a different way. You can manage your emotions in a different way. And that's because you started to have discipline. You know that, yeah, you can scream and shout, but you can scream and shout in a different way, in a sense, if you know what I
Hmm.
mean.
Yeah, you focus on
You can, you
solutions
can,
rather than
you focus
focusing
on,
on problems.
correct. You focus on being constructive, right,
Hmm.
rather than
Yep,
being destructive. You know,
exactly.
the destruction that you may want to achieve, if we can call it destruction, it's just that you wanna, sorry, not destruction, sorry, the construction is just being constructive is just because you wanna resolve an issue, right? You wanna try to be part of fixing something, and that can be the silliest things in your life. Like, let's say, okay, I need to clean my house, I need to fix something at my work, I need to do something for my community, whatever.
Hmm.
I need to do something for my band. There's a multiple things multiple examples. But you take ownership of your life. And this is something that has to be clear. You wake up and you take ownership of your life, and you want to take ownership of your life. I know for a fact that personally, as a father, I need to improve as a father. I'm trying to working every single day, you know, and that's for a fact. I want to wake up and say, okay, I want to try to be the best version of yesterday, you know. Yesterday maybe I did this wrong, and this is another thing that happened to me. And clearing up your mind means that you can analyze better what you did wrong, what you did right,
Hmm.
so you can just continue improving yourself. Being in this kind of situation is everyone can lose weight. The real goal is to keep maintaining that mentality, to keep that weight, to try to continue to be sober, or not going back in that downward spiral that I personally was crawling into. You know, I don't want to go back to those 88 kilos. You know, I don't want to go back to that because I know what it means, and that's pretty much it.
That's amazing, man. And look, great for you for applying yourself to that. So, number one for you was basically beating the food binging habits and then having more structure and discipline when it comes
Yes,
to something like that. So essentially controlling yourself better and controlling your own habits. Number two was the mentality, lack of
yes,
anxiety, more confidence, basically just having your shit together. Okay.
yes.
Which these are
Even
great wins. What would you say is your third win that you've had from being on the plan and working together?
I would say is what I said. I was the mood completely. That was the big the, the mood was sorry. The mood was the second one, I suppose.
Yeah.
The third one, sorry. um, I would say the fact that maybe I was able to commit to myself. To be honest, that's my win. Was my winning. You know, the fact that I was able to continue doing it for these 4 months we've been together. You know, and that's pretty much it. You know, again, the mental aspect was such a great winning for me. You know,
Mm.
it's just when you, as I just said before, you go out into the street, chest out, chin up, and you face your life. You don't get, you get part of it, you don't absorb it. You know, you want to face your life. You don't want to be there like somebody that is just dragged by the flood.
You're no longer a bystander. You actually
Yes,
have agency of
yes.
your own
You
life. Yeah.
want to stand out. You create your own standards, you know, and that's pretty much it.
That's awesome, man. Those are three big wins. Congratulations, man. I'm very happy for you. You
Again,
have absolutely earned it.
I wouldn't have been able to do it without, again, your support, you know. And I'm a person that, especially for this kind of a situation, I want you to have someone to lead me into a specific on the road, on the path I am, you know, because I will never be able to make this kind of self-made diet or whatever. You know, I want to have a real person, flesh and blood and bones, you know, to talk with and understanding, you know,
Mm.
my needs.
Absolutely, man. And look, I think it's one of those things. I always say that like effort is not the problem for a lot of people. A lot of people already have the effort, they already have the energy, they already have the willingness. Usually they've already made a decision to start, and maybe some have already started, but it's having the proper structure and the accountability that's going to transform the currency of that effort into long lasting results, just like you have.
They have just to manage themselves. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, they're just to be able to commit themselves to the plan, just going to pre-plan through cook, you know, from cooking the meals, going to the gym, or just simply going out for a walk. You know, simple things, simple steps, but they can make a massive difference in lives. In life, sorry.
Absolutely, man. Listen, Giacomo, I'm very fucking proud of you, man. You have
Thank you
made
so very
such a
much.
tremendous transformation.
Thank you.
And, that's a great example to set, and look, every person's journey is their own. Everyone's is going to be different. But I think it's good to be able to look around and take notes for these things. Okay, how can we sort of improve ourselves? As we kind of bring this to a bit of a conclusion, man, is there anything, any kind of last words, anything you kind of want to put out there and share with the audience who's currently listening?
Just if you want to change yourself, just please do it. You know, I did it. Again, discipline, follow Shayan's program, and literally you will see radically your change, your life changing. You know, there's no hocus pocus. There's no nothing. It's just yourself and your will. If you have the iron will, the mentalities to, I want to do it. I want to change my life. I want to get I want to lose those, I don't know, 20 kilos. I want to put more muscle. Okay, fine, let's do it. Are you able to commit yourself? That's the first question. No, because if you say, oh, maybe, yes, maybe. No, 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 no. You're in or you're out. That's my thing.
Mm.
So
This is
that's
the way,
pretty
man.
much it. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Commit yourself, and again, the more you're gonna have results, the more you want to do it.
Yeah.
And just you mentioned before my sobriety. Yes, I wanted to challenge myself. That was another challenge for myself, or something I wanted to be part of. I wanted to see how far I could go. And I've been sober for more than 100 days now. From literally from the 2nd of March, I've been sober. It's been difficult, yes. Oh yeah, yeah. Do I want a beer? Well, I had occasions where I really wanted to have a beer, but I was measuring the things. Okay, I can have a beer, but that beer is not gonna turn into beers. I was like, okay, it's just 2 beers. Just strict to stay strict to your plan, stay strict to what you want to do, and trust me that you're gonna be proud of it. And I'm proud of it, to be honest. It sounds silly. It will sound silly to all of you out there, but I'm proud of this. I'm proud of being sober for more than 100 days. I'm proud of the fact that I'm trying to expose my experience and making you change, because you can change. No, I did it. Here we go. Simple as that.
Absolutely, man. And for the record, this wasn't a part of the plan for you to go sober. That was your own personal decision
This was my
to do
personal
this.
decision, but this came after. I mean, I had a chat with one of my best friends. And if one of your best friends says you have slash had an issue with alcohol, bringing examples, well, that is a rude awakening. That's a harsh, rude awakening.
Mm.
Because this friend of mine doesn't say anything to hurt people. It just says things because it's pure fact. It's pure reality.
It's the right thing. Yeah, yeah.
It's the right thing to say.
That's good. It's a good
And that
friend to
was
have.
that was a brutal hit for me, because nobody ever told me that. No, it's not again, please don't picture me as the one that was, drinking every night and blah blah blah. Please don't picture me like that. But I can recognize that there was, as well as over there, an issue.
Mm.
Something that definitely I I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know when I'm gonna have my first drink again. I don't want to plan that, because everything has to happen naturally. But I do have now the tool to manage that.
Yeah.
Because if you're committed to go to the gym, if you're committed to have a diet, you can't exaggerate. You need to have maybe a glass, a beer. That's it. And I know for a fact you have been sober for longer than me, for 5 years now.
5 years this month. That's right. Yep.
Congratulate me. Seriously, that's fantastic.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
And I I have nothing but respect for people like you that do those kind of things, that I'm not able to do. I won't be able to do. But I was able to grab the ball by the horns and have a a beautiful twist in my life, right?
That's awesome, man. Look, it's not even a case of, if you can or you can't. I always say that, for me, the same as getting into fitness, the same as like actually learning how to eat properly. I don't even want to call it dieting because that's not it. We're not starving ourselves over here.
No, trust me.
Um,
No,
and the thing that I kind of want to lean into is the fact that you do this one day at a time. You wake up every day and then you decide, okay, today I'm gonna be a bit better. Today I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna track everything. And then it's the small decisions that you make throughout the day. People sometimes think it's this big thing of I'm gonna make this big decision to do this. Sometimes it's the accumulation of the little decisions and the little moves that you make. That's what truly gets you results. That's what truly forges your habits to push you and bring you towards your own goals and manifest that version of reality that you want to see for yourself. It's the little things.
definitely, definitely. And again, showing up for yourself. That's the only thing that you need to think about. Showing up for yourself and for people that you care. Because if you have, and this is, you need to, this has to be clear. Success sometimes is just the successful of this. It's just because I had a goal. I still have a goal.
Mm-hmm.
If it's possible. I mean, I want to try to maintain my weight or even going down as you know, but you need to have a goal. Without a goal, you were just gonna just shoot in the dark, you know. Just you have a goal, just go for it. Have a clear vision of what you want to become, and this and everything is gonna be the rest is gonna be irrelevant. Let's put it this way.
Absolutely, man. Giacomo, my brother,
Shayan,
this was a phenomenal chat. Thank you
thank you
so much
so
for your
very
time,
much.
man.
Hopefully, I didn't disappoint you because it was my very first interview for a podcast. I'm not a native English speaker, as you may have noticed, guys, but please, hopefully I didn't bother you too much with my nonsense talking.
No, not at all, man. Look, I think there's a lot of people who've listened to this just now that are hopefully feeling inspired, and hopefully took a few things from our conversation that they can hopefully go and apply to their own lives. Either this is a new perspective or it's a reaffirming of the perspective they already had, and I think both of those are just as valuable as each other. So I want to really thank you for that. I really want to thank you also for just being real and sharing your journey. I know it's
Thank
not
you.
easy to do that, but look, you've earned a phenomenal position in your own life right now as a result of all of this, and long may that continue, man. And to anyone who's listening, who's interested in working with me with the plan, my social media is that metal coach. You can find me there, or you can just simply use the contact link in the description of the video and contact me for a one-to-one consultation, and then we'll have a talk. If you've got any questions about, as to like how it works and stuff, I'm more than happy to go through that with you guys. But Giacomo, once again, brother, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your powerful journey,
Thank you, Shayan.
and long may this continue, man. Thank you to everyone for
Absolutely.
listening.
Thank you so very much for having me again, and stay safe
Hell yeah, man. Stay safe and stay strong to everyone.
always.